Apotheosis Chapter 7. After this year's winter, cold air blew in from the boundless land of ice in the north, dyeing most of the empire's territory with a layer of white dot. Heavy snow covered the ground like cotton quilts. The spacious drill ground in front of the Luo family was covered with thick snow dot. On the day of the clan competition, the servants of the Luo family cleaned up the snow on the drill ground. 12 branches of the Luo family stood in neat rows on the drill ground, waiting for the elders of the Luo family to inspect them. Originally, there were 13 branches of the Luo family, but now only 12 teams were present. This was because the branch of the eldest branch had ceased to exist 2 years ago. In order to urge the Luo family's disciples to practice diligently, the clan competition was held once a year. Whether it was the Luo family's disciples or the human targets, this day was an important day for them. According to the performance of the Luo family's disciples on the day of the clan competition, their allocation of resources for the next year would be decided. Those who performed well would naturally receive more resources, such as body-refining pills that could increase their cultivation speed, rejuvenation pills that could rapidly heal injuries, and so on. For the human targets, this day could decide their life and death and freedom. Luo Zheng and the other human targets also entered the drill ground. Today, the human targets' expressions were very serious, as if they were ready to risk everything. Today was too important for them. For the human targets, there were only 2 choices in the death match. If they won, they would gain freedom. If they lost, they would die. But for the Luo family's disciples, the death match was just a test. If they won, they would receive rewards and support from the family. If they lost, they would just lose some face. Many of the aristocratic family's disciples were very strong. Whether it was in terms of cultivation methods or strength, they were not inferior to others. However, because many of the aristocratic family's disciples had little actual combat experience, they would often drop the ball at crucial moments. Losing to someone weaker than them was a common occurrence. The original intention of the death match was to force the human targets into a dead end, stimulate their potential to the maximum, and then fight with the Luo family's disciples to the death. Only in this way could the Luo family's disciples be given real combat training. Before long, a middle-aged man wearing a green robe came out from the high platform of the drill ground. The middle-aged man had a long beard and a jade-like face. He was Luo Zheng's third uncle, Luo Junyi. Seeing this person, Luo Zheng's eyes flashed with a cold light. This person was one of the murderers who had killed his father. This person looked like a modest gentleman, but he used a vicious scheme to murder his elder brother. He was indeed a hypocrite. If it wasn't for the fact that his strength was insufficient, Luo Zheng would have skinned this person alive. Unfortunately, Luo Junyi was a viscera refining stage expert. His internal organs had been fully tempered, and his strength had reached the strength of 3 cauldrons. He could tear apart tigers and leopards with his bare hands, and smash a city wall with his bare fists. After Luo Junyi stood on the high platform, he took a deep breath and said softly, "Today, I have good news for everyone. Our Luo family's young master, my nephew Peiran, has been accepted by the Blue Cloud sect as an inner sect disciple." Luo Junyi's voice wasn't loud, but everyone heard it clearly. After entering the viscera refining stage, one's internal organs would be tempered, and their breathing would become extremely long. Hearing his words, all of the Luo family's disciples revealed an envious expression. Actually, Luo Peiran being accepted by the Blue Cloud sect was expected. However, the Blue Cloud sect's disciples were divided into many levels. Many people had passed through many layers of tests and stood out from many competitors, but they had only managed to fight for the position of an outer sect disciple. However, Luo Peiran was actually able to reach the heavens in a single bound and become an inner sect disciple. This matter was beyond everyone's expectations. It was no wonder that they were envious. Luo Zheng's body also shook. The fortune pill was actually so miraculous that it could directly send Luo Peiran to the Blue Cloud sect's inner sect. His fists were clenched tightly, and his heart was filled with worry. Second uncle and third uncle didn't get rid of him because they didn't think he was a threat to the Luo family. However, they definitely wouldn't let Luo Yen off. Previously, Luo Yen had escaped because he was in the Blue Cloud sect. Now that Luo Peiran had actually become an inner sect disciple of the Blue Cloud sect, it would definitely be disadvantageous to her. I must immediately go to the Blue Cloud sect. Nephew Peiran is the pride of our family. Everyone must set him as a goal. Today is the family training day. The Luo family's disciples will each choose a human target to fight to the death. If you win the battle, the cultivation pill distributed next year will be doubled, and your monthly allowance will also be doubled. In addition, you will also receive a violet pill. This reward was very attractive to many of the branch family's disciples. Therefore, when it was announced, many of the Luo family's disciples immediately began to discuss it fervently. The human target's expressions became even more serious. The more generous the reward, the more ruthless the Luo family's disciples would be, and the smaller the chance of survival for them. After Luo Zheng finished speaking, he sat down on a chair on the high platform. At this time, Chief Steward Huang Gu jumped onto the high platform. His eyes swept over the human targets and locked onto Luo Zheng. A vicious light flashed in his eyes. He thought to himself, "Boy, you won't live past today." Then, Huang Gu said in a high-pitched voice, "Now, the Luo family's disciples will choose their own targets. The first Luo family's disciple to fight is the eldest son of the third branch, Luo Chengyun." Luo Chengyun jumped onto the middle of the drill ground. After bowing to his father, Luo Zheng, he turned around to choose a human target. When Luo Chengyun's eyes fell on Luo Zheng's head, their eyes met. A smile appeared on the corner of Luo Zheng's mouth. A month ago, he had beaten up Huang Gu. He had thought that Luo Chengyun would immediately retaliate against him. He hadn't expected that this month would be so peaceful. It seemed that Luo Chengyun had been waiting for this day. He would choose me as his mortal target and beat me to death in the arena. However, Luo Chengyun didn't choose Luo Zheng. Instead, he chose a stocky man behind Luo Zheng. This was beyond Luo Zheng's expectations. The stocky middle-aged man was a death row prisoner that the Luo family had just bought. Therefore, he hadn't suffered any serious internal injuries. His complexion was good, and his strength wasn't bad either. He had reached the flesh-refining stage. After the middle-aged man was chosen, he jumped onto the arena without saying a word. His eyes were full of ferocity. As a human target, everyone knew very well that a mortal battle was a fight with no way out. Retreating was a dead end for a human target. Instead of sitting and waiting for death, it was better to fight with all their strength. Maybe they could fight for a way out. In a mortal battle, there wasn't so much etiquette. After the middle-aged man got on the arena, he took the initiative to strike first. He gathered all the strength in his body and rushed toward Luo Chengyun. This middle-aged man relied on his sturdy muscles to rush forward like a bull. The dark ironstone arena made a thumping sound as he stepped on it. A faint smile appeared on Luo Chengyun's face. A purple light condensed in his hand. His fingers formed the shape of a bow. When the middle-aged man rushed to Luo Chengyun's side, Luo Chengyun lightly and skillfully moved aside. A purple sandalwood 1-inch punch hit the middle-aged man from the side. Pooh! The purple sandalwood 1-inch punch's strength was subtle and not obvious. The middle-aged man stopped his footsteps. Since he didn't hit Luo Chengyun this time, he turned around and prepared to do it again. He was completely unaware that he had been injured by Luo Chengyun. But just as he took a step forward, 6 muffled bursting sounds came from his body. Suddenly, 6 bloody holes appeared on the middle-aged man's body. His eyes were as big as a cow's, and his face was full of confusion and unwillingness. His mouth made a gurgling sound, but he couldn't speak. Then, his eyes gradually lost their light and he fell to the ground. Killed in one move. The Luo family's disciples present burst into cheers. Many people took the lead in applauding. There were also many Luo family's disciples who saw this scene. They seemed to understand something, and their expressions were a little indifferent. As the eldest son of the third branch, Luo Chengyun's cultivation talent was considered outstanding in the Luo family. He had been enshrined with all kinds of elixirs since he was young, so his cultivation speed was much faster than the average Luo family's disciples. But it was impossible for his cultivation speed to be so fast. The only explanation was that he had eaten the Luo family's second and last worldly creation elixir. Luo Zheng shook his head in the human target, a wry smile on his face. Second and third uncles didn't treat him as an outsider. No one in the Luo family had dared to touch the worldly creation elixir for several generations. After they took the throne, they each took one and divided it up. Well. The first time he heard Luo Peiran say that he had eaten the worldly creation elixir, he was very angry. But now, Luo Zheng's mood was very calm. Although the worldly creation elixir was wonderful, there was only one. It was gone after eating it. But Luo Zheng's special constitution could continuously cleanse his body. In comparison, the worldly creation elixir was dispensable. Luo Zheng didn't care about it now. But the actions of second and third uncles made the Luo family's disciples too bitterly disappointed. At this moment, Huang Ji's voice sounded, "The first death match, young Master Chengyun wins." Luo Chengyun moved his wrists and said to Huang Gu on the high platform, "Chief Steward, the challenge just now was just a test. I still want to challenge another person." Huang Ji's face lit up. He thought that it was finally time. So he said, "Young Master Chengyun, if you still want to challenge another person, you can choose your own target." Luo Chengyun turned his head in the arena and pointed his finger at the human targets. Seeing Luo Chengyun's finger, the human targets' faces turned pale. They had seen Luo Chengyun's strength just now. If they were chosen by this guy, they would definitely die. Luo Chengyun's finger was like the scythe of the Grim Reaper. Whoever's head fell on by Luo Chengyun's finger could meet the King of Hell. Finally, Luo Chengyun's eyes stopped on Luo Zheng. He hooked his finger and said with a smile, "You, come up." Everyone looked in the direction of Luo Chengyun's finger and saw that the target Luo Chengyun had chosen was actually Luo Zheng. For the human targets, a death match was a situation that would not end until one of them died. Either they won or they died. Therefore, in the previous clan days, when the Luo family's disciples chose their targets, they intentionally or unintentionally avoided Luo Zheng. Although Luo Zheng bore the crime of betraying the family, the Luo family's disciples did not dare to really kill him if the family head did not order him to be executed. But today, Luo Chengyun actually chose Luo Zheng. People with discerning eyes already understood that Luo Zheng was probably going to die today. Finally, Luo Zheng did not say anything. He walked out from the human targets and climbed up the arena expressionlessly. He cupped his hands and said to Luo Chengyun, "Young Master Chengyun, please. Big cousin, why do you call me like an outsider?" Luo Chengyun narrowed